Welcome everyone. Glad to have you again in the class. Today, we want to look at characteristics and needs of children's development in the course Children's Literature, PED433. Welcome again. Children are very important and they exhibit characteristics that are peculiar to them. Children has been defined by UNESCO as people who are still under 18 years of age. When we consider the psychological and the biological changes that takes place in children, and this is what characterizes them as children. So these developmental stages are in stages, and they are as when a baby is born, between 0 age to 6 months, the mother trains the child to sit, and gradually, with assistance of an adult or a seat mechanism, the child began to sit alone without any help. No sooner than that, the child will start to creep around the floor, and then from creeping, the child will start to hold things around him to stand, and gradually he moves with objects, and with this, the baby can stand and walk. When the child has developed, because it has changed from who he or she was when he has been given birth to what he is now experiencing. So the baby develops fully when it comes to carrying out and performing some tasks. The baby develops physically, we'll see physical changes. A baby that we usually put on our hands has changed to a baby that has now started walking or crawling. So physical changes has occurred. Then there is intellectual changes also. There's social changes and there's emotional. So a baby can develop physically, a baby develops physically, intellectually, socially, and emotionally. So the periods in which these developments occur are graded into 4. The infancy period, which usually starts from 0 age to when the child is 3 years old. The childhood starts from 3 years old to 5 years old, while early childhood starts from 6 years to 11, and adolescent age starts from 12 years to 18 years. So adolescent age could be middle and late childhood. Adolescent age is regarded as middle and late childhood. All people within these categories or within this period of development are known as children. So it means for you to qualify as a child, it has to be 0 age to when the child is 18 years. Children exhibit different characteristics. They exhibit certain characteristics at each of these stages. Each of these stages that we have identified. During these identified stages, they experience physical development characteristics, which shows in their physical dimension. I said it, their physical development shows physical development, physical growth in the body parts. A child of 1 year old, the physique will reflect 1 year. Immediately the child is 2 years, the physique will change. A child of 3 months is different from a child of 8 months in the physical development, the physique. The short hand will have grown longer a bit, the small head will have increased a bit, and so you will see physical development characteristics, growth, physical growth in the child. Then there is intellectual development. This shows the ability of the child to make use of the brain. The intellectual could be in language acquisition, could be in interpretation of what the child see within the environment. Intellectual development could be in the child taking the remote to put on the TV, because he have seen adults doing it, and so he has applied his own knowledge, the brain, to also apply to it, that this is what daddy used to put on this TV. So if I also use it, the TV will come up. So the child also will experience intellectual development at the at the stage of the child's growth. Also, there is social developmental characteristics. Here, the child wants to relate with uh, adults. He will want to relate with his colleagues. He will want to relate with children within the compound. He has seen himself as a social animal, and he has seen himself as somebody that has to relate with others. And so the child will have developed social developmental characteristics. And that is when, at times, when the child is still between 0 age to 2 years, when you carry him, he will love you to carry him. At times, he will hop from you to another person, and that is to tell us that the child is experiencing social development growth. Also, there is emotional development characteristics. Emotional development characteristics. This occur when the child is expressing his emotion. The child also has the ability to express his emotion, and so the child will show emotion by crying, by laughing, by expressing himself or herself. So all these stages, children exhibit certain characteristics in each stage. In physical development characteristics, like I've said, it occurs between 0 year to 2 years. It involves rapid growth of the body system, and then during the infancy, the child acquires some measure of individual capabilities. In early childhood period between 3 to 5 years, the growth changes and this slow down. Between 0 and 2, the physical growth is rapid, but by 3 to 5, the growth is slowed down and not as accelerated as we have it in infancy. So the physical development, changes in body parts, this is what physical development talks. Then at early childhood stage, the child begins to assume body proportion of an adult. You see him or her growing in sizes and weight. The muscular muscles began to develop, and then the child also developed certain motor skills. At that stage, the child can feed himself, dress himself, bathe himself, brush his hair, play with his toy, jumping around, hop around, putting on TV, putting on the fan, holding pencil, helping mommy to carry bags, and so on and so forth. Assisting mommy in the kitchen, and so on and so forth. So that is to tell us that the body proportion has developed, and then the child wants to exercise his strength and make use of his muscles. And by age 6, the child is able to handle tools like pencils, materials more skillfully than during age 3, 4, 5. At 6, the child has perfected handling of some tools like pencil, some tool like carrying a school bag by himself, and so on and so forth. So by age 8, this period is also slowed down. The growth is steady. Usually small muscle also. The child take part in some activity using small muscle. Then it has improved large muscle activities. Like at this age, the child can learn how to ride a bike, can skate, can jump, can hop, and that is the time you will see the child engaging in exercises, telling you that I can jump more than my mother, and so forth. So having seen the physical development characteristics, let's examine intellectual development characteristics. These intellectual development characteristics manifest in the following: through verbal components. You will see the child interacting using words. When you use words, the child also repeats after you, and even if you don't, he has acquired the language of immediate environment to express himself using words. And that is why we said at this stage, using of vulgar words should be discouraged, because it is what they learn from you that they will also say to other people. Then there is also numerical component. You see children working with numbers, counting numbers. When you give them biscuits, they will count the number of biscuits they have. If one is missing, they will count and they will know. So numerical component also has developed. That is part of intellectual development characteristics. Then there is spatial component, seeing and manipulating figures and space. You will see them playing with figures, playing with space. See them carrying objects from here to there, trying to fix objects together. When they see your items, maybe they see mommy's phone on the table, they know mommy's phone is usually in her bag, they take it and put it there. So they see and they manipulate figures, they manipulate space, they try to put things together, things that they know should be together. And there is also social component, reasoning with problem in woman relations, social component. When they see you unhappy, you will see them too trying to figure out what is wrong with mommy, and then at times they even ask, mommy, is anything the matter? So they reason with problems in human relation. And when you tell them, I'm not going to play with you, they tend to cry. Some of them will fall on the floor and start crying, just because they want social component. They want you to be part of them, and they also want to be part of you. They see themselves and they see the importance in human relationship. Then there is mechanical component, which is working with objects. They see objects. When they see bike, they know it is for riding. When they see um, TV, they know they watch TV. So there is mechanical between 11 to 18 years. So according to Piaget, 4 stages of intellectual development: sensory motor stage, pre-operational stage, concrete operational stage, and formal operational stage. So the early childhood period between age 3 to 5 fall within the pre-operational period according to Piaget, pre-operational period of development characteristics. By this, there is rapid development of language ability and ability to represent things symbolically. Children tend at this stage to represent what they couldn't express themselves about, or what they feel that they can use symbol to represent. So this is called symbolic function. A child represents a car with a steering movement, and when this happens, it is called signify. And that is, symbolic representation of this nature is called signifies, only understood by the child. For example, I am sure majority of us in this class also will have experienced it. When growing, when your mom says, kindly get this from the room, you stretch forth your hand, and you start moving your hands as if you are driving, and you drove to the room to pick what your mommy asked you to pick. And you even accompany that with a sound as if a car is moving. So that is symbolic representation of ability to represent, that is the ability of the child to represent things symbolically. And this is why adults, when things are being represented symbolically by the child and it is only understood by the child, at times it leads to frustration on the part of the mother, and the child is also frustrated because his symbol is not being interpreted appropriately. And this is expressed with various outbursts of anger. You will see the child crying, and then when the child cries, the adult will see it as being naughty, and at times the child will be giving some lashes. So this is because we as parents, we failed, or we as teachers, we failed to understand the child's symbol representation. And for example, a child of 3 years old can just show a crown top, a bottle top to his mother, and what that represents to him might be that I want to drink juice, and the mother will just say, do you want to count? And the child will start crying, because instead of giving the child juice, the mother gave him a lot of bottle tops to start counting. And so the child will start crying, and the mother will see his attitude as being naughty. That is because the interpretation of the symbol according to the child, is not what the mother interpreted. So at childhood stage, children are egocentric. Give them sweets, ask them to give you back, it becomes a problem. They want everything to themselves. They want everything to be theirs. They are so egocentric. And at this stage also, they are attracted to physical property of tasks and problems. They are attracted to colors, to sizes, to arrangement. They like to arrange. They like to play with colors. They like to paint. They like to make use of crayons on their working book. And they like to write, whether it is okay or not, whether what they are writing is meaningful or not. They want to collect your biro from you and use it to write anything they feel like writing on their books. That is because they are at the stage where they are attracted to physical property and then to tasks and problems as well. Another one is social development characteristics, which shows that the child is born into social environment. We are social animals, we interact with one another, and when a child is giving birth to, as the child is growing, he finds himself in the family, he finds himself in an environment where everybody interacts with one another, and nobody is an island. So other characteristics under social development include feeling of autonomy. The child began to explore his environment independently. You want to see what is in the bedroom, you want to see what is in the sitting room, you want to see what is in the room, and you see the child walking into different parts of the room and then exploring the environment, even in the compound, and then bringing things upside down at times. Just trying to express himself by exploring his or her environment independently. Then apart from that, children of both sexes play together. They don't know whether they are male or female. At times they play together jokingly. They don't know that they are male or female. They play together without any discrimination. That is social development characteristics. Then they engage in group discussion. They can be unkind to others. They can be sensitive. They're extremely sensitive to criticize of self. They can engage in group discussion. They gossip. They talk about themselves and about their family. That is to show that they are expressing their social development. Then there is emotional development characteristics. Emotional development characteristics of children are numerous and they are frequent. They express their emotion. These emotions at times are temporal. So when they want to cry, you see them crying within a short time, they are off it. When you see them happy, they are happy, and within a twinkle of an eye, the happiness is gone. Sighting a biscuit ordinary will make them happy, will make them stop crying, and so their emotions are temporal. And that is why at times when children fought within themselves, within a twinkle of an eye, they settle it and they are together playing. If you allow yourself as parents to be involved for a week or two, you will still be keeping malice with one another. Meanwhile, the children that were directly involved have settled their differences because they don't even know. They have settled their differences and they are happy and playing together again. So that is emotional development characteristics of children for you. And so when they are growing, they tend to pass through these four stages. The intellectual stages, the social stages, the emotional stages, and the physical stages. All these are some of the characteristics that children tend to exhibit as they grow up. So you as teachers, you need to keep yourself with this so that you also help them to exhibit characteristics that are expected of them at each of these identified stages. With this, we have come to the end of this class. We will meet again next week. And before next week, we'll also meet again in the Zoom class. Bye-bye.